Hey Peeps, I'm here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So today we're talking about whether African parents are toxic. I'm sure you can see that in the title of this video. So this conversation is going to be really exciting. I really can't wait. I mean, I don't know if you guys probably have come across this, but I always see like TikTok videos, even YouTube videos, comparing African parents with colored parents and white parents, and the part where it comes to the African parents or the black parents, it's always very interesting. So I thought I'd create a video about this just to really unpack whether African parents are toxic or not. And so yeah, stay tuned to find out who our guest is for this conversation. To welcome my lovely friend Nicole Tanaka. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure.
You're amazing, and I just couldn't help but invite you for this topic.
I'm so happy to be here. I've been watching forever.
I know, you're like...
I'm her biggest fan.
Yeah, that's for sure.
It's not you, it's me.
No, that's true. She's like number one. She's been here since like day one, day one of this channel. So yeah, but tell me quickly, just to share with the audience, why are you so interested about this topic, you know, parenting and African parents and toxicity?
You know, I'm the daughter of African parents. I'm bound to become an African parent myself.
Yeah.
So I think this is just an important thing for us to understand, especially in the Black African community where we're trying to elevate Africa.
Yeah.
This is an important part of that. So
True.
yeah, I'm so happy to be here to talk about this, something I'm so passionate about.
Yeah. I like the part where you spoke about elevating Africa.
Yes.
Because I mean, parenting plays a huge role in society.
It does.
You know, we are, I mean, I'm saying we now because I'm a parent, but I know you're about to be, you're also bound to be one. But yes, as parents, we are really just grooming our future leaders. And so the way we really do parent has an impact on, you know, the development of
Africa as a
whole. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I just so I'm just happy to have you. I'm so excited for this conversation. But let's do the basics first, right? At what point does parenting become toxic? How do you know that now it is toxic?
So I think for me, I think of parenting as existing within two interchanging frameworks.
Yeah.
Firstly, I think of the mother and the father, which is the parenting role where the parent is essentially providing the social, political, economic needs of the child. So that's healthcare, education, home security, food security. So exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's the mom and dad. And this is more about the psychosocial needs of the child, ensuring the child's mental health, social health is good. And I think parenting immediately becomes toxic when a parent isn't providing for these two interchanging parts. So when they're doing more of one and none of the other, some but not enough of one, and so on.
There's no balance.
Exactly, it's a matter of balance.
Yeah, that's true. So where do we then get, when do we get the toxicity from this now? Like, how does the child then suffer from this imbalanced situation?
Well, for example, if you have a parent who's doing really well in providing for the child's like socioeconomic needs, they understand the value of education, they understand how to handle money, they have food security, clothing security, and things of that sort. But then what happens if, when a parent is not taking care of a child's emotional needs? That's important because we have to be viable social individuals.
True.
And if we can't do that, it doesn't mean much for us to be able to do the other. And I think it's usually the case in African households where those socio-economic political things are provided for.
Yeah.
We have access to school. School is very important. We all know this. We have access to homes and clothes and whatnot. But then our social health, our mental health is not where it should be.
Yeah.
We don't know how to navigate social situations healthily. We don't know how to deal with our own emotional health in a way that allows us to conquer life.
Yeah. And that becomes toxic. I really agree with you. I like the example you used of mental health as something that if we are not balancing the other, the education, the food, with maybe the mental health, it's a problem. Especially the world that we live in now. I mean, there are a lot of people that are committing suicide, and you know, mental health is real. I've actually released a video about mental health and how it is serious and people should care for their mental health the same way they care for their physical health, you know. And so I can only imagine the role that parents have to play in that. I'll actually put that video in the description below. But Nicole, I like that you touched on that. Let's talk about corporal punishment. I'm just gonna jump straight into it. I have to mention corporal punishment because I know you can't talk about African parents and not mention corporal punishment. I mean, I know a few parents that really believed in that back then. So how does this affect children?
I think corporal punishment, first of all, has been like this cornerstone in the discipline of Black African children for generations.
Yeah, that's true.
So we have to touch on it. But I do have to say, when I think of corporal punishment, I think of my experience in grade 7. I was just a kid who hated homework. Never did my homework ever. Right? But when I got to grade 7, we had a teacher who would punish us for not doing our homework by hitting us.
Oh, no.
So he'd get a duster and he'd hit us on the hand. It was just a traumatic experience, actually, if it was happening every single morning.
Yeah.
And because I knew if I didn't do my homework, he would hit me, I started doing his homework only. So for that whole academic year, I was doing his homework and it was great. But then the next year, I went back to my old behavior of just not doing homework.
Oh, no.
And really, I think that's how corporal punishment works, even in the home.
Yeah.
Children switch up their behavior to avoid this punishment. But then the moment that, like, punishment is no longer a threat, we reverse back to unhealthy behaviors.
Oh, yeah. So it doesn't really change or mold the person to become a better person. It doesn't instill that discipline, but it's still fear from what I'm getting.
Exactly.
So you get scared and act for that particular time, but the moment you're done with the situation or you move to a different place or setup, you didn't learn anything from that.
Yes.
So
it's just a switch up in behavior because of fear.
That's
like
true.
Submission brought through fear, as opposed to trying to switch up a child's moral behaviors and explaining to a child, you don't do this because it results in this. It doesn't emphasize moral education, and that brings us right back to that whole thing of like the psychosocial needs of the child. You have to be ensuring that you're giving your child this moral education so they understand why some behaviors are important. And now at 20, I still don't understand why homework is a thing. If that opportunity had been taken to explain to me why it was so important that I did that homework, I could have emphasized it more.
Also, we are missing the why. I think I get where you're coming with this. We are missing the why. We just quick as parents, as you mentioned an example with the teacher, but I also just regard teachers as parents. They are our parents from away from home, you know. So we just act like, as parents, we quick to just like, you know, with the corporal punishment, we quick to just act, but not really tell the kids, why are we making you guys do this? Why are we punishing you? Why are we physically punishing you? What is the reason? What did you do wrong? And why is it important to do this? So we just like...
there's just no education in corporal punishment. I think the only education one may even derive from that is just that when I'm wrong, I deserve to be beat. And that's not, like, that's a toxic behavior in itself, and it develops and manifests itself as other problem in other relationships later on in life.
Yeah, that's true.
So the education needs to be focused on, this is wrong for these reasons. I think children in general are more capable of understanding things than we recognize.
Yeah, that's true.
I think let's give kids a bit more credit and just saying, you don't do this because it has these consequences.
Then you know,
Exactly.
But I'm a parent, and I also realize what works as well, just to add on what you're saying, is that if you allow the kids to know that they have a voice and that they're being heard and that their point of view matters, you'll actually have less issues with your children.
I think so
because
too.
they know that their opinion matters and that they don't feel like they're in prison in their own homes.
Yes.
And that gives them the freedom to also open up to you, and it makes parenting so much easier that there may not even be a need to go violent.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it just also opens up an opportunity for critical thinking, an opportunity to understand empathy, to start practicing empathy. Because if you understand what you've done wrong and how it affects the people around you, the environment around you,
and how it affects you maybe as well.
Yes, it's such an educational thing to be able to just sit someone down and tell them why something is wrong and the consequences of it. I think that could have been very helpful for me, because I was not very well behaved as a kid. So yeah.
So from what I'm getting is, instead of doing good, the corporal punishment is actually doing harm. So
it's really harmful.
It's doing more harm than
yes. I really don't see the value of it. I understand sometimes, the frustration of a child, of having to nurture a child, someone who may not have very high cognitive thinking.
Yeah.
And I understand that sometimes you just want them to stop doing something.
Yeah.
But it really is submission through fear as opposed to submission through understanding.
That's true. Yeah.
And when you can bridge that gap, like you said, I think it births greater relationships between parents and child. Yeah.
Which we need.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then I know there may be some parents listening here, and I should acknowledge that we have different parenting styles. That is like a fact, and like as parents we believe in different ways of how best we should raise our children. That is okay. But I would like you to just share with us at what point, since we're already talking about African parents and whether African parenting is toxic or not, can you give us maybe some case studies or some examples where some African parenting styles are actually toxic? I know we touched a little bit as well on the corporal punishment and linked that to African homes, but maybe any case studies showing how some African parenting styles can be toxic or are toxic.
Okay, so I think the one that immediately comes to mind for me is just this manner that we emphasize education. Education and hard work all the time. But we misunderstand, and you see this a lot in university. People put so much emphasis on achieving 100% of the time.
Awesome grades.
That there's so much burnout. And we really do see cases of people committing suicide. Like, mental health in university is a garbage bin.
That's so true.
Because I think African children don't understand when it's okay to stop, when it's okay to take a break, understand that failure is just a part of life. The way, like, the fears of failure, because we come from these overachieving African homes, the way that just manifests is the way we treat ourselves, treat our failures, treat our triumphs. I think that's an issue in itself. I think another really great example of this, when we don't put emphasis on mental health is so important, and I keep coming back to that because really it is our parents who show us how we respond to the world. The example I think of is actually just myself. I'm really, in terms of like my bills, I'm really good at paying my bills, I'm great at school, but I am not a socially healthy person. That's a horrible thing to say, and it's like such a weird thing to admit, but really, like, I'm overwhelmed by most social situations. I'm not great at making friends, maintaining friendships, because I didn't have...
At least you've got me.
And really, it is about... I wish I had that education earlier in life.
Yeah.
I think now I get the opportunity to get it, but I look at other people who had more experience in that way.
That's true.
Of being able to communicate and to talk and to handle, animosity within relationships.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh.
I know. Because
now at 20, I'm figuring that out for the first
only
time.
Now.
And if only I had that education earlier on in life.
It would have went to that.
And I think a lot of people can relate to that. Social anxiety and things of that nature are so common. Are so common. And only now, a lot of us are learning to bridge the gap in our adulthood.
Yeah.
And that's the effect of that toxicity or that form of toxicity in the African household.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So if you're an African parent and you're already not doing this, please do this. Just allow your children to talk to you, talk to them about mental health, talk to them. It is okay not to be perfect. By the way, I like that you mentioned university and how at university, if they fail, I mean, there are a lot of cases, even the institution we are in now, in the higher education training where we are now, is that a lot of people, I also know, they commit suicide. Results come out and then they gone tomorrow in their rooms, and then we find them gone in their rooms. So just talk, if you're a parent, talk to your children.
Absolutely.
That it's okay to fail a subject. It's okay to fail the whole module. You can make it up and just help them with the skills.
It's okay to fail the year. All of it is okay, because I think when we put too much value on one aspect of our lives, it is guaranteed that we are failing in others.
True.
There needs to be a balance, not only within our relationships with other people, but within ourselves. And that's something you learn first and foremost in the homes. So from the perspective of a very imbalanced child, please do better by your children. We learn balance from our parents first and foremost.
True.
Yeah,
that's so true. Now, I know it's not all bad, because I mean, if you've been listening to this conversation, you're probably thinking, "Woo, African parents are bad." Because the topic here is, are African parents toxic? So we're trying to establish if they are. But so far, you're probably thinking who they are. But hold on, this is not it.
No.
Nicole, share with us. Are there like any ways or any great things that comes out from African parenting styles? Any things that benefit their children the way they parent?
Yes, absolutely. I think responsibility. For me, there's no monolith or one way that the African family or the Black African family presents. But in my case, I understand my responsibilities. I understand my responsibilities to my community, to my friends, to my family, because of my parents. So, they're just, and it's also really small things. I think you have to look at your own family and your own parents. I'm never late. It's such a small thing.
Yeah.
I'm never late for anything.
Yeah, you were on time today.
I'm always on time.
Yes, I know.
And that's something I got from my parents.
Yeah.
Responsibility.
Yeah.
I pay my bills. I don't pay my electricity late, my water late, nothing like that. I'm very responsible in that way. I understand the value of my education. I don't take it for granted. Not one day. There are days when I want to take it for granted. But I understand the value of my education, and I know a lot of children get that from their parents, especially in the African and just indigenous household.
Yes.
I think the other thing is, I just know how to interact with people according to the social situation. And by that I just mean, I'm very socially aware. I know when to act and how to act a certain way. Our parents, there's so much discipline. We're so disciplined because of our parents. Situational awareness immediately comes to mind. I know how to approach any and every situation. As nervous as I may be, I know how to act and when to act accordingly.
Yeah.
So that's something I got from my parents.
So depending on maybe who they are, because I know if maybe they're elders, this is how you should approach elders.
Exactly.
If they're youngsters, I mean, of course you still approach people with respect regardless of their age. That's for sure. But I think it differs.
I always say the flavor of respect is not the same everywhere.
That's true.
So that's something I got from my parents.
Yeah.
I know how to approach people. And I think also the African household, we can't not say this, Ubuntu, guys.
Yeah, Ubuntu.
Thank you, Ubuntu. I think I look at the way my parents, my mom and my dad, even in separate situations, how we always had to treat our neighbors. I think my parents approached life with a sense of kindness, and that's definitely rooted in their Africanness and just their African background. That sense of Ubuntu, that's something we do get from our parents. That's something I've certainly gotten from my parents. And it's not all toxic.
No, it's not.
It would be horrible to see it that way. We're way too upstanding as African children to come here and simply talk about the toxicity of our parents.
Of course, absolutely. And also, people must just be aware that we are not also fully generalizing. We are really just sharing what we have seen, what we've experienced, and we also do understand that people do parenting differently. Even the same African parents, they also do have their own different parenting styles. But I like the way you really broke it down for us. I think it's clear to the audience now that, like you said, it's not all toxic. It's just that we are really having this conversation to say there is a need to also create some change and add where there's a gap, because there's always going to be a need to also change the way we do things as well.
Yes.
And like you said, there's a gap. You gave examples, and people should just be willing to, you know, to improve on parenting for the benefit of our children.
Yes.
But so all I can say to my lovely friend here is thank you so much,
Thank
Nicole.
you for having me.
This was awesome.
Yes.
And yeah, I think there's a lot of value in this. And if you guys enjoyed it, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. And leave a comment if you want to say anything, your thoughts about African parenting. Do you think that it's toxic? Is it all toxic? Do we, maybe any thoughts about this topic will be appreciated. But for now, that is it from us. We'll see you again next time. Take care and
bye.